Today on Investigate TV Plus, AI-generated photos designed to look like American heroes flood social media feeds. We uncover how scammers use your compassion in the comments to turn a profit.
That was my downfall right from the beginning, believing the first person that talked to me, that he loved me.
Plus, we get a look at a secret playbook these criminals use to break hearts and empty bank accounts.
Then firefighters face a new threat as electric vehicle fires put people and the environment at risk.
Really taking time for science to catch up and try to find ways to safely extinguish lithium battery fires.
We take an in-depth look at solutions to contain the flames.
I'm sorry I couldn't have been stronger or more honest about my feelings.
A father turns his pain into a life-saving message.
And saving just one life is really what it's all about.
How he's raising awareness about suicide and sharing his daughter's story to support other students who might be struggling.
In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV Plus. You've heard the warnings, countless fake photos generated by artificial intelligence circulating on social media. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm Tisha Powell. But if you saw one while scrolling, would you be able to tell if it's real or fake? Our investigation uncovered the lies don't stop with the images, as overseas scammers are finding their next victims in the comments on these fake photos.
Investigative reporter Brennan Keefe explains how criminals are using people's support and compassion for the U.S. military for profit.
Soldiers finally coming home. Combat wounded troops asking for a birthday wish. These images draw tens of thousands of likes, comments, and shares on social media. A semi loaded with American flags. A jetliner full of heroes flying to a D-Day commemoration. But look closer at the veterans' hands. Their plane has no aisle. High-ranking uniformed children in wheelchairs. A soldier saves the hobbly, while those returning troops are in cars with only one seat. And the flag semi is on the wrong side of the interstate. Babies, sometimes in body armor and combat medals, outrank their parents who have 3 arms. This two-headed mother is with the U.S. Army. These images are all AI-generated, and they flood pages with names like Proudly American. We discovered these patriotic Facebook pages have U.S. addresses that don't exist and are actually managed overseas in foreign countries.
This is cyber warfare.
It is. Douglas Frazier retired from the U.S. Air Force as a 4-star general.
Carry on, please.
But he can also be found responding to comments on these AI images, telling older women they're pretty.
It's fake. I have found nothing I can do to make it stop.
And you've tried.
And I've tried.
We found multiple General Frazier clones on social media, claiming to be widowers looking for love.
How many General Douglas Fraziers are on Facebook alone at any given time?
Well, my wife has recently checked, and she says right now there are 300 plus.
300 plus General Douglas Fraziers, and not one of them is real.
I'm not on Facebook.
My partner, my soulmate, my darling wife, Rena.
These fake General Fraziers are widowers. They're looking for love.
All throughout this time, I've been happily married. My wife's been alive.
You don't know me? Tell your husband, text me back, I'm his wife.
So she thinks she's his wife?
I'm sorry, ma'am, I'm his wife.
Impersonators of real U.S. generals appear all over the comments, many labeled government official. We scrolled through hundreds of Facebook accounts claiming to be the chief of staff of the Army and never reached the end after 5 minutes. These generals directly ask widows to friend them.
That was my downfall right from the beginning, believing the first person that talked to me, that he loved me, that he was going to make a wonderful life for us.
Jeannie Wasserman thought she had fallen in love with a military officer stationed in the Middle East. After a year-long online romance, he told her he needed money for a chopper ride out of Syria.
How much money did you end up sending him in total?
I think it comes out to $138,000.
You handed more than $130,000 to a scammer when you thought he was a military officer who loved you.
Yeah.
This was your life savings he took.
Yeah.
Was it everything?
It was everything. I just broke down crying. I really let my family down.
We obtained computer files labeled the Nigerian Scammer's Playbook that we verified as authentic. Page after page of background stories, love letters, instructions on how to fake video calls, and copy and paste responses that allow a scammer to cultivate a manufactured romance one text at a time.
He would send me a song every day that was, of course, a love song. Then say how much he loved me and all this stuff. And
You thought you were talking to your future husband. In reality, you were talking to a script that the scammers share with each other.
mm-hmm.
There's breaking the bank, and then there's breaking your heart.
Yeah, and both of that happened.
To know that foreign scammers, foreign operatives are using your name and likeness to victimize Americans.
Well, it's heart-wrenching to me, mainly because of the impact it has on individuals who don't deserve to be scammed in the way and hurt in the way they are.
General Fraser swore an oath that his clones did not. All enemies, foreign or domestic. Now he's facing artificial patriots, fake generals, and real victims.
We got a call from a lady who said, "Can you do anything to help my mom, because she's continued to contribute?" And she called my wife back. Her mom, if I remember right, had killed herself because she'd given her whole life savings, 200,000 euros, to these scammers.
There's literally a body count.
Yes.
We called several numbers victims told us their scammers used.
Hi, this is Brendan Keefe. I'm an investigative reporter. We want to find out why you're scamming people, why you're pretending to be a military officer in the United States when you're actually overseas.
The text reply, send gift cards, then I will give you the whole story. We don't pay for the truth, even when others have paid for the lies.
A spokesperson for Meta told us the company plays a game of whack-a-mole with new fake generals popping up faster than they can take them down. They asked for a list of the fake generals we found, but there were so many that we suggested Meta start with the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Meta has not yet responded to our requests for an interview.
The Federal Trade Commission finds losses to romance scams are higher than any other form of imposter scam. But the Better Business Bureau has these 2 tips to keep from becoming a victim. Never send money to someone you haven't met, and do a reverse image search on Google. You can be your own investigator to make sure these pictures are not associated with another name. We break down how to look up an image on InvestigateTV.com. Just use the keywords reverse search.
Still to come, bringing new beats to an old tradition.
We've getting records coming out a lot faster, a lot cleaner.
We take an in-depth look at the vinyl revival and how record pressing companies are using new tech to produce the same great music.
But first, raising awareness about suicide in schools.
I want them to normalize that it's okay not to be okay. We all have emotions and they should be expressed.
Why experts say talking about the topic with peers can lead struggling students to get the help they need.
You can watch Investigate TV Plus anytime online. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel at Investigate TV. You can catch stories and full episodes.
If you're facing a mental health struggle, you're not alone. From counseling to medication to emergency assistance, help is available.
It's help a Missouri father wishes he could have given to his daughter before he received one of the most difficult phone calls imaginable. 10 years ago, his daughter died by suicide, but he's turned his pain into purpose, creating a foundation in her honor.
Reporter Caroline Hecker shows us how he was inspired to help other students.
This is Averys' last school picture in her junior year.
Memories are all Rick Cantor has to hold on to.
This happens to be one of my favorite pictures.
His daughter Avery was smart, athletic, and talented. A student at Lafayette High School, she was a 2-sport varsity athlete. She had friends, a boyfriend, and a loving family. All of it, Rick says, came crashing down during her junior year of high school.
She wasn't as concerned as she was in the past about certain things, about grades, about sporting events, things that she found passion for. she had lost that passion.
That bothered him, so he kept a close eye on Averys. But he never could have imagined the conversation that would follow just a few weeks later.
The biggest thing that she said to me was, Dad, I don't want to be here. And that was like a big flashing red light to me, that I knew exactly what she was saying. And my response to her was, let's get you some help.
Rick says it was too little, too late. A few weeks later, he drove to Lafayette to watch Averys' soccer game. To his surprise, she wasn't on the field. That's when he got the phone call no parent can prepare for.
The police officer picked up the phone and it told me that Averys had taken her life.
The days, weeks, and months that followed remain a blur. But as Rick emerged from that fog, he turned his pain into action.
I think of her every day. It doesn't go away. The hole in the heart remains. But there's nothing I can do to fix the hole in the heart, but what I can do is help others in her honor.
All right, show of hands if you think it's A.
He founded the Archangels Foundation.
Any takers?
Taking his message of suicide prevention into area classrooms.
Why role model?
Using education, awareness, and compassion to tear down the stigma and get students talking.
No one is exempt from mental health illness.
Quentin Townsend leads the classroom discussion, quizzing students on their knowledge of mental health.
Question 2.
And asking them to weigh in on stressors, both at school and at home.
I want them to normalize that it's okay not to be okay. We all have emotions and they should be expressed. It's just to realize when certain emotions last a little bit longer than they should, that they should go get help.
With comparison the thief of joy, many students say social media makes it next to impossible.
I don't think it's talked about enough because you try to hide the stress and the depression and the sadness and anger that's going on.
Perfect life, everyone looks great, their bodies, their hair, their skin, whatever it may be. And subconsciously, when you see that picture after picture, post after post, it takes a toll on you.
Dr. Michael Wenzinger, a psychiatrist at Washington University, says it's a common theme among juvenile patients.
For the depressed child, oftentimes their phone becomes their number one, best, and sometimes most toxic friend.
He says while young girls tend to suffer more from feelings of hopelessness or unhappiness, boys are significantly more likely to complete suicide. He says it's too early to know if the CDC's latest findings are a coincidence or a pattern.
There is, I think, some pretty undoubted numbers that we are seeing higher rates of completed suicide and higher rates of just psychiatric illness across the board in kids. So something is definitely going on.
This here is our family trip to Jamaica.
10 years after Averys' death, Rick is still picking up the pieces. He may never fully know the answer to the agonizing question of why.
I haven't looked at this in 9 years.
But he decided to share part of a note Averys left behind.
I'm sorry I couldn't have been stronger or more honest about my feelings. I tried to get help, but things were spiraling so rapidly out of control that I just couldn't deal with it anymore.
Stop recording me.
Averys will forever be Rick's little girl, living through him and helping others.
And educating the students that we are going to save just one life. And saving just one life is really what it's all about.
A social worker at the school says even when students are in their office for help, they aren't always open to talking about their struggles.
We have a lot of students here who do hide how they're feeling. They tell their peers all the time that they want to die, they want to kill themselves, and then when they have to come to me, they act like it was a joke.
But she says talking about suicide awareness in schools and among peers can help students get comfortable expressing their feelings. If you're facing a mental health struggle, there are counselors on call 24/7 ready to help. Just dial 988 to reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline.
Still to come, containing car fires is proving more difficult when it's electric.
This is absolutely the new challenge for the firefighters that are coming up now.
Why firefighters are forced to use new techniques instead of water to stop battery fires. Plus, the reason some are just left to burn.
You can watch Investigate TV Plus anytime, streaming online. Get the app for Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. They're free to download.
An electric vehicle fire is so intense it can take thousands of gallons of water to put out, presenting new challenges for firefighters.
But while EV fires are less common than their gas-powered counterparts, the lithium-ion batteries make them more difficult to extinguish.
Reporter Josh Gant takes an in-depth look at the new tactics being used to contain the fires.
EV fires are unusual and now present unique challenges and dangers to firefighters. The location of the battery and its chemistry make it difficult to put out. It's the new hazmat, according to Birmingham Battalion Chief Clay Hendon.
Depending on the state of charge of that vehicle, it can take 8, 9, 10 hours for a fire department to be able to put these out, and it's not uncommon to see numbers as high as 50,000 gallons of water to put them out.
More departments are now rolling out blankets to try and buy firefighters time when fighting EV fires. Birmingham Fire recently showed us how they work. Hendon says the blankets don't put out the fires, but allow firefighters to contain them. If EV fires are threatening anything like homes or cars, that's when firefighters will use the blanket.
But if an EV fire happens on the side of the interstate here and not threatening anything, then odds are the fire department will let it burn, and there's some big reasons why.
It's a lot of water for us to contain because it's also, with studies from the ATF have shown that it is hazardous material runoff. So when we start flowing that large amount of water, we're contaminating the ground, and it's a huge environmental impact.
Really taking time for science to catch up and try to find ways to safely extinguish lithium battery fires.
Michael Brooks with the Center for Auto Safety says the solution requires federal funding.
With this massive rollout and push from the government for electric vehicles, we should have, but we haven't had a corresponding push for what happens when things go wrong. And that's a conversation we really need to have, and we need to have it quick.
The National Transportation Safety Board highlighted the risk for electric shock and uncontrolled increases in temperature and pressure. The 2020 report was also critical of manufacturers, saying in part, the instructions in most manufacturers' emergency response guides for fighting high-voltage lithium-ion battery fires lack necessary vehicle-specific details on suppressing the fires. The Alliance for Automotive Innovation, which represents manufacturers, says safety is top priority, and they've been engaged in long-standing efforts to address fire risk for both conventionally fueled vehicles and EVs.
This is absolutely the new challenge for the firefighters that are coming up now.
The future of firefighting isn't all about EVs. It's other things in your home that use lithium-ion batteries, including cell phones that could potentially pose risks.
They have the same hazard as the vehicles do. It's just smaller scale because it's a manageable battery. But these incidents are going to continue to escalate until the battery chemistry becomes manageable and they find out a way to work with the fire service on how we can effectively put these out.
You just heard about the environmental threat the runoff can pose, but what exactly is in the batteries that is so harmful? During an electric vehicle fire, more than 100 chemicals are released, including carbon monoxide and hydrogen cyanide, which can be deadly to humans. This release not only puts a firefighter's health at risk because they can breathe those chemicals in as they try to put out the fire, but as the fire is doused in water, those chemicals can seep into the ground and affect the surrounding environment.
From the Beatles' first U.S. record to Taylor Swift's latest hits. Up next, see how the largest record pressing plant in North America has stayed a part of music's biggest moments after nearly going silent in the 90s.
Vinyl records once again reigned supreme. In 2022, wax surpassed CDs as the most popular physical music format for the first time in more than 3 decades.
To keep up with that growth, America's oldest and largest record pressing plant is innovating in Nashville.
Reporter Brendan Tierney shows us how United Record Pressing is using new technology alongside the Music City's history.
One record after another,
These presses are trying to keep up with vinyl demand that's higher than ever before.
Create plates.
Cam Serrett says it's more than just country music. Fans and artists from across the world turn to Nashville for their records.
Open palette for being able to do kind of whatever you want creatively.
Over the past 75 years, United Record Pressing has become the largest producer in the nation, creating everything from the Beatles' first U.S. record to Taylor Swift's latest hits.
It's not been easy every year, and so it's been really special to celebrate that longevity.
Cam says they were down to just 12 employees in the 90s, but after the vinyl resurgence during the pandemic, they now ship out around 8 million records a year, with the original presses running right next to new technology using AI.
Catching mistakes before we even have to run tests.
They're able to do everything in this small factory along Allied Drive. From creating the lacquers out of digital music files to making sure the art is exactly how the musicians want it. All the way down to the color and pattern of the vinyl itself that's coming out of the presses and getting trimmed down to size.
Something you're going to pop in and listen to.
Davina Stevens helps plan the process that takes around 10 weeks. She says the technology they use has come a long way, but the music hasn't changed.
We've getting records coming out a lot faster, a lot cleaner, and you're getting the quality coming out the same.
Cam loves looking through the more than 4 decades of masters in the warehouse, just a couple of aisles over from the hundreds of pallets of sleeves they have staged.
Everything is here for the music process.
Keeping the tradition by checking both sides of every record by hand while preparing for whatever they need to press next.
Well, that's going to do it for us on Investigate TV Plus. I'm Tisha Powell.
And I'm Lee Zurich. Thanks for watching.
On the next Investigate TV Plus, some of the survivors of the largest sexual assault case in sports form a sisterhood.
So that bond and that support that we have even so many years later is really, really important.
How their bond helps them heal and provides a voice and support for other survivors.